peeps, welcome back to another episode of Manifestation Mondays with your host Neira the G.O.A.T. I'm so happy to be back this week with a new video for you. I'm super excited to talk about this subject because I feel like it's something that people don't talk about a lot. So what if I told you that some of the things you're manifesting aren't coming from what you want, but what you actually feel? We always talk about manifesting from a place of joy, excitement, and gratefulness. But what happens when we're actually manifesting from places of fear, abandonment, grief, betrayal? And what happens when these emotions go unchecked? Your manifestations aren't just shaped by what you consciously want, but what you unconsciously feel. But I just wanted to tell you today that you can still manifest amazing things even when you don't consciously feel your best. It's important to remember that the universe does not just respond to your words, but it responds to your energy and your frequency. If we don't process emotions like grief, anxiety, fear, depression, sadness, or betrayal, they end up shaping our reality. They shape our reality in ways we don't even realize. The good news is we have the power to recognize, honor, and shift our emotional frequency at any given moment in time. So let's talk about the unseen power of manifestation. The thing is, you're always manifesting, whether you realize it or not. But the real question is, are you manifesting from a place of clarity, or are you manifesting from emotions that you have yet to process? So in this human experience, there's always gains and there are always losses. And a lot of our losses are unexpected. A loved one passing away, unexpected job loss, a pandemic, divorce, betrayal from a friend or coworker, and all of these things leave emotional imprints on us. If we don't process these emotions and feelings, they tend to shape our subconscious beliefs and energy. For instance, if you lost your job, you might carry out the feeling of instability, which can sometimes manifest in financial insecurity. This is why you can be saying all the right affirmations, creating the vision boards, using the crystals, and it seems like none of it is actually working. Because if your energy is still tied to the past pain, you're constantly pulling in proof of that pain and you're experiencing that in your reality. I know we like to just skip to the good part in life, but there's so much power in honoring our current emotional state, regardless of what that emotion is. I feel like we live in a world where we are told to normalize being happy, and we feel like being happy is supposed to be our baseline emotion that we feel all the time. The beautiful thing about life and the beautiful thing about this human experience is we get the opportunity to feel all of the emotions at any given point in time. And I also feel like it's a common misconception that if we are unhappy or if we are depressed or if we're feeling anxiety, that is synonymous with being ungrateful. You can still be grateful and be sad. It doesn't make you a bad person, it just makes you human. Society teaches us to push through our pain and to ignore our emotions. We want to do our best to stay positive and speak love and light. We want to go high when they go low. But the reality is, sometimes you just want to slap them.
What is the 5 fingers say to the face? What? Slap!
Ignoring your emotions does not make them disappear. It just makes them even louder and more prominent in the background. So how do we honor our emotions without staying stuck? For one, we have to acknowledge them and feel it and be okay with the fact that we're feeling the emotion of sadness. We're feeling the emotion of grief. I kind of look at emotions like this. First of all, let's start with what an emotion is anyway. Energy in motion, emotion. If the energy in motion is supposed to flow through our body, what happens when the energy gets stuck? Then we have feelings of grief, of stress, of anger, of fear, of anxiety, just stuck in one place. And how do we get the emotion unstuck? How do we get this energy back into motion? You first have to acknowledge the emotion. Acknowledge how you feel. Acknowledge where the feeling or the emotion is stuck within your body. And send energy and love and light to it. There's so many times where I have to have moments where I have to just be real with myself. Whenever I was working a lot, there were times where I would have hella mom guilt about not being able to be there to show up or be like halfway present in whatever's going on with them. And I would take moments in my car where I would just pull over on the side of the road and I put my hand over my chest and I would just acknowledge, Neira, it's okay that you feel guilty right now. But the truth is, you're not a bad mom. The truth is, the sacrifices that you're making for your children are going to pay off one day. The good thing is, if you acknowledge it within yourself and you acknowledge it and speak about it with your children, this is something that you can work through and you could work through together, you know? The second thing you want to do to keep your emotions from being stuck is to just allow them to flow. I'm pretty sure at this age, anybody that's watching this video has experienced grief, and if you haven't, you one day will. And so anybody that has lost a loved one, you know, grief comes in waves. You can be perfectly fine driving down a road, listening to your favorite song, and then all of a sudden you see a cardinal fly in front of your car and now you're bawling crying. Or you could go somewhere and you could smell a certain fragrance and it reminds you of your grandmother or your mother that's passed on, and now it's taking you in a whole downward spiral. And now you're overcome with emotion. You're overcome with grief, with sorrow. And it feels like something that happened 6 years ago happened 6 minutes ago. And it's just important to allow those feelings and those emotions to flow out of you. If you need to cry, cry. This is your permission to be able to do so. If you need to scream, scream. And you can always take time to write in your journal. Shameless plug. On paper where thoughts become things. One thing I can say about journaling, your pages never tell your secrets to anybody. And so whenever you are processing those emotions and you just need to get out whatever you're feeling, if it's anger, if it's grief, if it's the fact that you just don't even know, write it down. Get it out of your mind and on paper, and you will realize it's an energetic shift that happens, but it's also this supernatural release that you give yourself permission to have when you allow yourself to cry, when you allow yourself to journal, when you allow yourself to open up to somebody that really cares about you, whether that's your therapist or a loved one, close friend, whatever. You have to allow the emotions to flow through you. And the third way to honor your emotion is to not judge yourself for how you feel. You know, when it comes to heartbreak, we can find ourselves judging ourselves so harshly. I can't believe I fell for that person. I can't believe I allowed them to treat me that way. There are sometimes we see red flags and we ignore them, but there are other times where situations totally blindside us. And then now, because we feel sad that we've been betrayed, or because we're sad and upset that we've been lied to, we're now judging ourselves for feeling the feelings that we feel. Every situation that you go through, especially if it's the first time, you never quite know how you're gonna deal with it. I never forget when my grandmother did pass away. It was unexpected. I did not know how I was going to grieve, or how my grief journey would actually look with that. Whenever I stopped working for my last company, I did not know how grief and life after that was going to look for me. When I separated from my ex-husband, I did not know what life was gonna look like, and I would find myself on all of those different journeys at some point feeling like, oh, you should get over this, you should be over this already. But the reality is, if you've been in a relationship with a person for over 10 years, you don't just get over it in 6 months. If you lose your grandmother who has secondhand taken care of you for 30-something years, you don't get over it in a year. And that's okay. We have to begin to allow ourselves to process our emotions from an objective point of view and understand that my grief journey is gonna look different from that person's grief journey. That person's journey to success is not gonna look like mine. And thank God that they all look different, so that we can be able to step in and be able to help other people whenever they're going through stuff like we once went through. The goal is never to get rid of your emotions. It's never to suppress your emotions. The goal is to let them be seen, to feel them, to allow them to flow through you so that they don't control you. So I want to debunk a manifestation myth that's out there, and that is that you cannot manifest great things when you're not feeling your best. We're human. Your emotions are gonna fluctuate, and good thing God took that into consideration before even creating us. And because of that, your manifestations don't disappear just because your feelings are a little low at the time. So here are the reasons why you can still manifest even when you're feeling off. Momentum still works in your favor. Here's the thing, if you've already been putting in the work energetically and physically before feeling low, that doesn't just go away just because you're having an off day today. Your past energy is still bringing you results. Alignment actually matters more than your emotion. So if you've already been in alignment and you're taking those small steps, continuing to believe in yourself regardless of what it looks like, you can indeed still receive. And luckily, the universe responds to more than just your emotion. Your beliefs, your habits, and your subconscious programming all play a role in what you will manifest and how soon it'll get to you. I'll give you an example. Have you ever felt like, oh my gosh, you're having the worst day ever, and all of a sudden you receive an Apple Pay or an unexpected deposit into your account? You can still receive blessings out of what feels like nowhere, even when you're at your worst. That's because your overall energy isn't tied just to one emotion. It's always tied to whatever the bigger picture is that God has for us. And some of my biggest manifestations have happened to me whenever I was frustrated, doubting myself. You know, whenever I got hired at my last company, there were over 500 people that applied for that job. Over 100 people that were being interviewed. And I just remember being in the room with all the other candidates being interviewed like, baby, I'm a college dropout. Like when I tell you, you know how people talk about imposter syndrome? I was like, how did I get in the room with all these people knowing that I don't have the experience, knowing that I don't have the qualifications, but yet I was still blessed with that job at that moment. And I was blessed with that job because overall, there was still something about my energy. There was something about me creating the Hire Neira campaign that allowed me to stand out even in the midst of me feeling doubtful about getting a job. Regardless of how you feel, if you're continuing to show up, you can still receive whatever your manifestation is. So here are a few things you can do instead of forcing positivity. Number one, that's just accepting your feelings for what they are without feeling like you have to force positivity or be perfect in order to receive. Your life and your existence alone is enough. And you're worthy of receiving just because you are who you are. Instead of forcing happiness, focus on the next aligned action. Everything is not going to always fall into place the exact way that we think it's supposed to go. And the good thing about that is, it's like when it doesn't happen that way, we give God room, the chance to show us just how great it could be. Maybe in my limited mind and space, I only wanted to share this kind of content in email form. And God is like, nah, bigger. We need to put you in front of the people so that this message can reach as many people as possible. It's not limited just to the people that you know, Neira. I have put things inside of you that I want to get out to as many people as possible. And so this is why you have a YouTube channel. This is why you have all of your social media platforms. This is why you have a podcast. And this is why you go through life the way that you go through life, yapping away, because I have something that I need people to hear. I only want those people to hear it through you. You have to trust that what is meant for you is coming, even if it isn't a perfect day. Y'all, I did not feel like filming today. When I woke up this morning, the sky looked like it was falling. I'm getting ready to start my period, so I'm hormonal. I'm over here sweating. I'm tired. My nerves are bad. I don't have no eyelashes on. And if I'm gonna be honest, I'm wearing sweatpants. I ain't even wearing the bottom of this outfit. But I find myself when I'm creating content to want to try to make everything so aesthetically pleasing and perfect. And the point, you don't have to do that. You just have to show up, and you have to show up and be authentically yourself. And that's the juice, that's the magic. Acknowledging how you really feel, acknowledging where you're at, what you got going on, not judging it, and just putting the shit out there. It's important that you don't avoid your feelings. Your emotions don't block your blessings. Avoiding them can definitely make you miss the message. I think that when God created all of us, God knew that. God gave us energy, emotion. God allows us to be able to feel all of the things that we feel because we come from an infinite source. So why would An infinite source created us only to feel two emotions. That doesn't even make any sense. Once you've honored an emotion, you have the power to either sit with it and let it lay there for however long you choose to, or you can exchange it for another emotion. So here is how to gently shift into a new emotion. Name the old emotion. Maybe it's fear that you don't have enough money. Acknowledge, I just got paid today. I have this car note to pay. I have daycare to pay for. I have a phone bill. I have rent. I have all of these expenses coming up, and it feels like what I'm making just isn't enough, and I'm afraid I'm not gonna have enough. And then you thank that emotion for allowing you to recognize it, allowing yourself to acknowledge that emotion, that feeling that comes up whenever you think that you have to pay something. Thank yourself for the lesson. Thank yourself for acknowledging how you feel. Because too often we go through life not giving ourselves any credit for what we're actually doing with us. And then choose a new feeling and a new emotion. And you can say something that feels organic to you. I trust that abundance flows to me. And the reason I know that abundance flows to me is because every time I walk outside, I see that there are thousands of leaves on the trees. I see that there is thousands of blades of grass on the ground, and I look at animals and I see how they're protected and provided for, and I think back on my life about how even though it always felt like I didn't have enough, some kind of way the bills always got paid, and I even had extra money to spend. I trust that abundance flows to me because I can recall different times where I was in the line at Starbucks and somebody paid for my coffee. There's so many times in our lives where we are being provided for with abundance and we overlook it. It's important in these moments of lack or these moments of fear or these moments of doubt that we go back and we remind ourselves of all the times that when that emotion came up, reality actually showed us something different or the opposite of that. And again, take small action steps that align with how you feel with this new emotion. So it could be expressing gratitude for the fact that even though you felt like you didn't have enough, luckily enough, my lights are still on. Luckily enough, it feels like I'm letting this money go, but when I let this money go, I actually have everything that I need and I'm provided for. Expressing the fact that just because I'm no longer in this relationship, at least I'm happy and whole within myself. Think of your emotions like the radio station or like your Apple Music, because people don't listen to the radio anymore. But like, if you're on the station of grief or on a playlist about grief and sadness, all you gotta do is switch the station or switch the playlist to something about joy. You don't have to fight the emotion that you're in. All you gotta do is shift it into something new. Esther and Jerry Hicks in the Teachings of Abraham talk about the emotional guidance scale. And I believe they describe the emotional guidance scale as love and appreciation, but I believe now it's shifted to authenticity being at the highest emotion on the emotional scale and fear being the lowest. And sometimes on the emotional guidance scale, it's not going from depression to joy. Sometimes it may look like going from depression to anger, and from anger to frustration, and from frustration to just being like, I'm all right. I believe that we have to do a better job of understanding our humanness. In the supernatural sense, yes, we want to go from being depressed to joyous again, but as long as we're in these meat sacks, as long as we're humans, it doesn't always look like that. But if we can get to the next best emotion, and then from that emotion going to the next best emotion, then we're making the progress that we're actually looking for. If we're looking for the next feeling of relief, just one step above where we are, we're making way more progress than we realize. And so in closing, what emotions do you need to relieve? And what emotion would you like to replace it with? Drop it down below in the comments or shoot me a DM and let's work on it together. If this video resonates with you, like it, comment, share with a friend. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next week on Manifestation Mondays with Neira the G.O.A.T. Go forth, be great. Always remember what you are seeking is seeking you too, and happy manifesting.